The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 21st of October, 2025. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again today by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by Caneswear, your ultimate destination for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. In good times and bad, Caneswear is your place to go, and great place to stop on your way to the Stanford game this Saturday. We'll talk more about Caneswear later. But Matt, I wanted to really focus today on what I thought were some riveting visits that we had yesterday with Mario Cristobal and the coordinators. And I want to start with Shannon frickin' Dawson, okay? Because let me tell you something. The offense had a rough night on Friday night. Shannon had a rough night. Carson Beck was horrendous. The offensive line didn't have a great night. They didn't run the ball well. And the result was obviously not real good. And they are being trolled all over the internet, okay? I'm seeing them being trolled on Twitter. I'm seeing them being trolled on Instagram, TikTok, people making fun of Carson Beck and the way that he played the other night, throwing the ball away to the other team throughout the game. And, you know, these guys can't feel great about all of this, okay? But the thing I love about Shannon Dawson is he's just raw, man. And he didn't look to deflect the damn thing. He took ownership of all the problems that they had the other night. He wouldn't talk in detail about how he's going to fix them for obvious reasons, because that's going to be his game plans in the coming weeks. But I just thought he was really honest, and he wasn't self-deprecating, but he was just real about the whole thing. And I found that, honestly, Matt, throughout the entire building yesterday. Everybody you saw, everybody you talked to, there was no excuses. There was complete 100% ownership of that entire evening at Hard Rock Stadium. And I think that that's coming from the top. I really do. I got the impression that Mario Cristobal kind of mandated that. Like, this is on every coach, every player. It was not acceptable. And there is a very clear focus to show up better the rest of the season, beginning on Saturday night against Stanford. But I was impressed. I mean, you're probably going to take a shot at me for being impressed. I'm ready for that and expecting that. But I was just impressed about the way that he stood there and answered every question and took ownership for the entire performance on Friday night. There's nothing they can do about it now, obviously, but I think it's good that nobody's looking to deflect or point fingers or blame everybody else. They're all taking ownership for it.
Yeah, I mean, they were as transparent as my green, venti green matcha latte in the morning, which isn't very transparent. Look, I mean, we just have different views of how coaches answer questions, I guess. I didn't find any of them particularly riveting or transparent, and it started with Mario Cristobal saying that he's never going to throw a player under the bus when he was asked, about his comments that literally he said after the game, Elijah Lofton. This is how discombobulated I am from this last loss. He literally said after the game, Elijah Lofton's name. Elijah Lofton ran the wrong route on the final interception. Today, it became, I don't know who ran the wrong route. I can't discuss. I'm never going to throw a player under the bus. Like, that's when I tuned out at that point. Just if you're going to say,
would you consider the possibility that maybe there was some reflection on that?
Of course, he made
you're talking about raw emotions right after a game.
He never should have done it, and neither should Carson Beck. You never throw a player under the bus.
And I think they realized that.
Of course, but it's built in. It's baked into being a coach. I mean, how would you ever say it in the first place? The thing that bothers me is he's all about. All he says to us is it's all about the truth and what's real. And don't pretend that fans aren't real. Fans heard him say it. And now fans are hearing him say that I never said it. I don't know what you're talking about. We don't throw players under the bus. It's just weird. And then Shannon Dawson gets up there and he starts talking. This is Gary's amazing clarity that he gave to everybody. He says it doesn't matter what a defense is doing, Gary. He was answering Gary's question. It doesn't matter what defense does to us. We have a special system no one else uses. We have a 1-2-3 progression system where if this one's not there, you go to the next one, go to the next one. Does he think he has some sort of scientific, like, is this Chinese special metals that we're dealing with?
He had the number one offense in the United States last year, Matt. So, like, isn't that living proof that it works when it's executed properly?
Okay, I can talk again. Are these the rare earth minerals that only Shannon Dawson has, and he's not allowing anyone else to have them?
He had the number one offense in the United States last year.
Okay, we've talked about this before. You keep interrupting me. We've discussed this, and you actually agreed with me in the past that was Cam Ward's offense, not Shannon Dawson's. Cam Ward turned about 30% of those plays into his own offense, and it was called the scramble drill. And Shannon Dawson was very proud of the scramble drill, which just meant players ran around like headless chickens. There was no 1-2-3 that he was stressing yesterday, that his offense is so special that it doesn't matter what a defense does, because if they take this away, you go to the next thing. If they take that away, you go to the next thing, and then you're fine. It didn't make sense to me, right? Because we saw what Louisville did to his offense. It clearly wasn't clear to the quarterback, who is the guy that Shannon Dawson's teaching. So he can say it, Gary. He can make it sound great, and he can smile the whole press conference after a loss, and he was actually happier at this press conference than he is when they win games. Explain that to me. He never smiled as that jovial.
I think he knew he had to answer the questions.
You can't let me talk. The whole thing to me seemed like a vaudeville act, where he knew going into that he was going to get these nasty questions from Gary Ferman, and he knew that if you smile at Gary Ferman when you answer a question, that Gary Ferman will say he did a great job, and that's what he did.
That's ridiculous.
He didn't say anything. He's not going to change the offense. He didn't even dispute when you said, you run 70% up the middle. And he's like, well, I would try to dispute it, but I'm sure you have all the stats in front of you, because he clearly didn't have them. Like, he said that. He's like, I don't know the stats. He's like,
I actually didn't have the stats in front of me. The 78% was from a couple weeks ago. I don't know what the percentage is now, but I mean, other than the jet sweep, I don't remember seeing any outside running plays in the game the other night. And I mean, everyone sees it. They're running the ball up the middle, and defenses are taking away the middle, and that's why they've kind of gotten into a little bit of a rut offensively. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Am I wrong?
I mean, I was in a train of
thought. You do the film studies,
huh?
You do the film studies.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's doing the same stuff. And it's clear why he's doing the same stuff now, because he thinks no one can stop it no matter what they do. That's what he told you. And if you consider that being clear and concise and having a great response to you, then fine. But to me, I would rather he stood up there and said, they stopped some things. We're going back to the drawing board a little bit. We're going to come out with some different schemes. We're going to tweak some things, like da-da-da-da, Maybe they can come up with some outside zone run plays. Maybe they could do some innovative things in that 9 to 20-yard window where they never do anything except for crosses, where guys give each other high fives as they go across each other, and they don't throw to either of them anyway.
Oh yeah, I meant to ask him about that. Damn,
which actually did happen.
I wonder if that's part of the play. I gotta find that out.
Well, that was unbelievable. So here's the thing.
Who was it? It was Tony and Daniels?
So just for fans who didn't see it, there was a crossing route where the players were supposed to go so tight to each other they could literally clap hands, and they did clap hands.
They smack five, yeah.
And you can say they're supposed to do that, or maybe they think it's funny to do that. But to me, in a real, you have 60 reps on offense, and that's one of them, right? So that's more than 1% of your entire game is that play. I can't, and I'm not very fast, but at my 6.6 40 speed, if I'm running on a crossing route with Gary Ferman, who runs an 8.2 40, and we're running, right? This is how you run, and then we stop with one hand and reach out and slap the other person. I think it's going to slow you down. I mean, I'm not a physics major. I'm not an whatever it is, astronautical engineer. I don't know. Is that a thing? But I'm guessing when you stop doing this and you reach your arm out and you touch someone else, there's some sort of friction and centrifugal force involved, and you slow down a little bit. Why would you do that? I don't care. Like, why would you coach them to do that? Why would you let them do that? Why would you? I don't understand. Like, yeah, it looks cool, and it'll be great for TikTok and Instagram, but other than that, it's not like, that's not how you play football, right? I mean, what are they going to do next game? Do jumping jacks to try and distract the defense while some guy runs a route past him doing a jumping jack? Like, I'm not a fan of that. Look, I had a lot of issues. I actually thought that I thought that Corey Heatherman was going to have like a stroke while he was talking to us. He was intense, man. It was weird going from the smiling, affable Shannon Dawson, who I've never seen happier, bizarrely, like Lance Guidry vibes from that, right? Remember Lance Guidry would come in after losses when his defense got torched and he'd be smiling and joking, getting those vibes. And then Corey Heatherman comes in and he looks like he's going to rip off every reporter's head. He's in like a murder vest. I don't know what the hell he was wearing, but he was like wearing a vest on top of a vest, which only murderers do that. Only a crazy person wears a vest on top of a vest. I'm sorry, Corey. I said it, okay? Your fashion sense is murder. That's the name of that fashion sense. It's not khakis or bougie or whatever. It's murder. That's the name of what he was wearing. Didn't like it. Not a fan. But I actually liked what Corey Heatherman had to say more because when I wasn't like scared for my life, I thought that he actually said some really interesting things, which I'm sure we'll get to next. But okay. Are we done with Shannon Dawson yet? Can we move on to Corey?
No, I'm not done. I need to correct the damn record. You just destroyed the whole record and obliterated it, quite honestly. And I got to now go through it and show you how you were wrong. So please be quiet for a moment. Shannon Dawson says, I have to coach better. I thought we had a good plan going into the game. We got punched in the face, to be honest with you. We were down 14-0. I thought we showed a lot of resilience battling back, but we did not deserve to win that game. We did not. They played better than we did. And there's not one person in our offensive room that thought we did when I asked them that question. Now,
and then he smiled. Hey, say the whole thing, because then he smiled and did a little dance and chuckled. You got to tell the whole thing and how it happened.
Now, maybe I'm easy or whatever. Like, I don't know. I mean, some people think I'm pretty tough, but like, to me, that is raw honesty. Okay, saying, we got punched in the face. Okay.
Wait, first of all, who got punched in the face? The defense.
Well, the team.
Corey Heatherman got punched in the face. The guy in the murder vest got punched in the face because that's what he said. He didn't say my offense got punched in the face. He was complaining he didn't have enough plays to run because the defense was letting the offense run down the clock for Louisville. They only ran 60 plays, 20 in the first half. What he said is it was Heatherman's fault. You just didn't hear it because you were too busy listening to the voices in your own head.
Anyway, so he also talked about the 5 possessions that and he used the word gave away, which basically were the Carson Beck interceptions for the most part, and really credited that with the loss. Credit the loss to that, because that's just too many possessions to go empty. And this has been a problem for Miami. Even like in some of the games this year with all those empty second halves, and the Syracuse game last year where after taking that early lead, I think they had 5 or 6 possessions in a row where they got nothing done on offense, and Syracuse came storming back and eventually won. And there's a big picture to this for Shannon Dawson to look at, in my opinion. And, I asked him a little bit about the predictability. Like, have they gotten too predictable? With the focus being obviously all the run plays right up the middle. And I think he kind of didn't totally dismiss that. Like, he was being a little careful because he has to correct.
Here's the problem, Gary. I hate to interrupt you, but here's the problem. What did he tell you he's going to do different?
Well,
0. And you're sitting here telling him it was such a great interview. He revealed so much. He's going to do nothing different.
No, what he said was
execute better. Execute better. That's it.
What he said was that he couldn't really discuss it in detail because he was in the process of correcting it for the game plans in the coming weeks. But, I didn't see a lot of excuse making. Like, they know, like, and it starts with the coaches. They know they had a bad night at the office. That team, that team was not prepared the way it needed to be. It was not focused the way it needed to be.
So if a coach does a bad job, but then stands up and says he does a bad job, to you that's good, and he did a great job. That, just to be clear,
it's better than blaming the players. I mean, the players take blame also, obviously, but it's better than just saying it's all the players' fault, which is what most coaches do.
That is not true. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue that. I've never heard a coach blame his players.
How many coaches do you see stand up in front of the media and say, I coached poorly tonight? Not many.
Is that true? I don't really watch a lot of the other teams. I cover Miami. You watch these other teams post game and they blame their players?
No, it's not something you see very often.
I thought you said it was.
Listen, they had a rough night the other night. Like, I wasn't bothered. I know it sounds like I'm discriminating towards the defense, but I wasn't even bothered by the 2 early touchdowns by Louisville. I mean, you're going against Jeff frickin' Brom, okay? Like, that guy is a damn good coach, and he's a damn good play caller. And you give him 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, he's going to script up something damn good. He's probably going to do it if you give him 1 week. And Louisville had a great game plan coming out of the gate, and they caught him, and they put Miami in a hole, which they were trying to climb out of the entire game. And so I wasn't really bothered by that, okay? But I was bothered by just the struggles of the offense, because it went so against the grain of everything that we had seen from these guys earlier this season. And I even talked to Mario about that a little bit. Like Nick Saban calls it rat poison. It's the byproduct of listening to everybody telling you how good you are. And I think there's legitimacy to that rat poison argument. But in this case, I mean, it just seemed more complex than that. Your quarterback, who had been good earlier in the year, showed up, and literally almost every decision he made in the game was the wrong decision. I mean, it was such a complete reversal. And what I saw was a Carson Beck trying to win the Heisman Trophy on national TV and only looking for the big play and being willing to risk the football into double and triple coverage to try to get it. And there was one where he might have accomplished that if he had just thrown it a little further, but he was taking risks that he didn't need to take. There were guys wide open in the flats. He was not seeing the field, and that went counter to what he had done early in the year. The offensive line, which had been really, really good earlier in the year, I thought was as average as can be. Now, Shannon pointed out to me, wait a minute, Gary, he said, there were a lot of plays there where they had good plays. Like, it's not like every play was bad. But he did concede that they did not block as well as they had earlier in the season. And, that's something that, that they're going to obviously have to work on here. Because, like, this game, they may be a 30-point favorite. And obviously I expect them to beat Stanford. But the next week at SMU, like, they better bring it to Dallas. I'll tell you that. Like, that SMU team is pretty good, and if they don't come with their best game, I don't know that they're going to win that game on the road. So, but we'll obviously be talking more about that probably next week. We're not going to talk too much about it this week, but anyway, listen. What are they going to say? I mean, they watch. He talked about how they watch film, they critique, they're not shying away from doing better, and he included himself in that. I mean, what else? I don't know what else he's supposed to say, but what I was glad he didn't do is try to pretend like, that this wasn't a coaching responsibility too, because it was. And it doesn't mean he's not a good coach. Good coaches have bad days at the office too. But I just thought the team in general, just wasn't really ready for that game. And, they may have underestimated Louisville a little bit. I don't know why they would have. I mean, even in the game Louisville lost, I think they only gave Virginia 230 yards of offense. But anyway, so all this is on the website. It was nice to have an opportunity, and a shout out to Miami for being a school that makes their coordinators available. Not every school does, but it's really the most insightful interviews of the week for us who cover the team, because Mario, he doesn't talk in specifics the way you can talk to a coordinator and really get into the nitty gritty of what happened. And it's a very valuable opportunity for us every Monday. And it's to your guys' benefit that you get to see that coverage. And so I'm just, listen, I'm trying to be an optimist here. I'm not going to be doom and gloom. A lot of people are doom and gloom. They think the season's over. It's not over. If they get their act back together and run the table out. Like, I don't know. I don't think, and Matt fought with me about this a month ago. I said that Miami can't afford to lose more than one game this year. And Matt's yelling at me and telling me all kinds of, his usual nonsense and whatever. I'm like the way this ACC is with scheduling and, teams like Georgia Tech and, having fairly soft schedules and there's going to only be 2 teams in Charlotte. Okay. And there could be a a 2-loss team or even a 1-loss team left out of the mix there by the end of the season. So, anyway, it's going to be real competitive. And I don't think Miami has any more margin for error. And so they just got to get their act together. So, Matt, did you have any other takeaways from?
Well,
let me start with Shannon Dawson from what Shannon Dawson had to say.
No.
All right, then let me take a moment before we go revisit Corey Heatherman and make sure that we close the book on Corey Heatherman. Let me take a moment to tell everybody about CaneSwear, which is the ultimate headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. Let me give you a look at their store.
Welcome to CaneSport.
New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
Yeah, so there's some really cool Cane stuff out there this year. Adidas did a nice job this year with coming up with some unique stuff. I think you probably have heard me talk about the camo look stuff that they've created that's available over at CaneSwear, and definitely something to check out. Just something different, a little bit of an off look. It's nice to have something different. I mean, how many orange and green t-shirts and polos you're supposed to have in your closet? It's nice to be able to buy something a little different. And at CaneSwear, they have a little bit of everything: t-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets, you name it, they have it. And they have it in all sizes for men, women, kids, and babies. And yes, they will up your pet. And oh man, it's funny, like I was in my neighborhood the other day getting a little exercise, and they had like a doggy Halloween event in my neighborhood. Okay. And I'm like sitting here looking at these dogs, and it made me think of CaneSwear, because I'm looking at these dogs running around. They're all dressed up in different costumes and stuff. This one dog was dressed like Batman. It was so cool. Very, very cool. Maybe before Halloween, I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. It was just cool to see all these little dogs all dressed up. Well, at CaneSwear, they will dress up your dog like a Canes fan. And, so check them out. 2655 South University Drive in Davie. If you can't get to the store, you can go to caneswear.com 24/7, 365. You could shop Canes. And like I said earlier, it's 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. So if you're going to the Stanford game this weekend, you can stop in at CaneSwear on your way in the afternoon, load up on some Canes gear. If you need you want to tailgate, you don't have the chairs and tables and stuff, they'll hook you up with that if you want. There's some decent food in the shopping plaza there, particularly a great sub shop next door called La Spada. So go by CaneSwear if you get the chance at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. And like I said, if you can't get to the store, go to caneswear.com. You will not be the least bit sorry. All right, so Corey Heatherman was less animated than Shannon Dawson because he didn't have as much to talk about. I mean, yes, the defense had a really tough time the first two series and gave up those 2 touchdowns. But they got things cleaned up pretty well after that, Matt. And the biggest thing that they're working on this week is tackling. They thought they had done enough tackling, but what might have happened is in the course of having 2 open weeks sandwiched around the FSU game, they might have lost a little bit of an edge there in their tackling. It's surely looked different. We didn't see guys swarming to the ball with the same aggressiveness that we had seen earlier in the season. And, that's certainly something that Heatherman's going to work on this week. And it's early, and we'll be talking more about Stanford later in the week. But what do you see? How does Stanford, coming off that victory over Florida State, what kind of challenge do you see Stanford posing to Corey Heatherman's defense, to where they should have an urgency to be fixing that right now in practice?
No challenge. I mean, their starting quarterback's got a knee injury. They're not a good team. Like, there's nothing there. But I do want to talk about Heatherman for a minute, because his press conference I thought was interesting. And I guess it wasn't a sweater over a sweater. It was like a hoodie over a sweater, whatever. It was still a murder gear. But here's what I want to impress on people. And what I liked about his interview was he mentioned a lot of the problems, right? Taking bad angles, the missed tackles. I mean, he addressed things specifically, not the pie in the sky stuff with like Shannon Dawson saying, "Oh, I can't talk about it because maybe I'll fix something," you know.
You're just going after Shannon because I said I thought I was happy with what he had to say. That's the only reason. You just want to contradict.
No, if you said he had a terrible press conference, no.
Shannon, if you're watching this, don't take any of this personally because he's just busting my stones. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, if Gary had said that he did a bad job, I would have said he did a good job, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But here's what people were responding on the YouTube channel yesterday about this, and I want to make people understand this. Fans seem to have this impression that after the first two drives, Louisville got shut down by Heatherman, right? They didn't score a lot afterwards. They didn't get a lot of points afterwards. I understand that. And what I said in yesterday's show, which got lost in the hour-long Gary Ferman soliloquies, was that Louisville shot itself in the foot more so than maybe Miami forcing the stops, right? Because there's a fine line. But here's what I want. I want to break it down, right? The first two drives, everybody knows Heatherman got punched in the face. They weren't expecting what they saw, as Zachariah Poyser said. And Louisville's up 14-0, okay? So now let's just go down the next bunch of drives so you guys can understand where I'm coming from, because apparently fans watch a different game than I did. They think that Miami's defense just did it all on itself. The following drive, Louisville gets 2 first downs, okay? Converts 2 different first downs. And then Moss throws 2 passes off the mark and has 1 pass broken up. They throw 3 times in a row. The run game's killing it. They throw it 3 times in a row, 2 of them just off target. One of them was to a guy who was open and just threw it over his head, okay? They punt. The following series after that's the series where Louisville's offensive line and the running backs, they didn't account. And you could say Heatherman did a great job with this, but they didn't account for Keontae Scott blitzing, and he blitzes all the time. I mean, he blitzes. He's their blitzer. So to me, that's a mistake by Louisville, not understanding the guy blitzes all the time. They didn't touch him, and he gets a sack. That ended that drive, okay? Or else, they'd already gotten a first down on that drive. They had a first drive. They had 2 first downs on that drive also by running, and then Bell beat Frederic for a gain of 11 to the Miami 47. So they're in Miami territory with a first down, and they had a misfit on the blocking. Next drive for Louisville, they have an illegal blindside block on a first down run, puts them in 2nd and 17. They didn't recover and punted, right? That's a self-inflicted thing. That's not something Miami did to them. It was a stupid play by them. The following drive, okay, we're now at the end of the first half. They drive again, first down pass to their tight end over the middle, 11 yards, a 3rd and 4 conversion pass to almost to midfield, and then a bad pass, another incompletion. They wind up with a 4th and 3, remember, because they have that 3rd and 10 run for 7 yards. It's 4th and 3 from the Miami side, and they're like, we're just going to run the clock out, right? Or else they might have gone for it. If this is a normal game with a close score, 4th and 3 on the other side of the 50, they may have gone for it, but they ran the clock out on the half. Okay, that was that possession. Now you start the next half, okay? So they come out, all the adjustments are made at halftime. What happens? Bell's still one-on-one with Frederic, has a first down catch for 13 yards, okay? Then Dakari Collins is open. Now they're at the Miami 37, okay? Now they're facing a 3rd and 3 from the 30, and Moss just throws a terrible pass to an open guy down the middle, and they settle for the 48-yard field goal. The next series, holding on Louisville. That cost them that series. So, like, fans here are sitting here saying, oh, my, Corey Heatherman figured it out, and the defense played so much better. They did not. They did not. They were, and maybe they did play better, but Louisville had self-inflicted penalties, bad passes to open men, and ill-timed mistakes on their own on offense, okay? So I just ran down, that's like to the end of the 3rd quarter almost, all right? I'm not going to go through every single drive, but this is what I'm talking about. So Corey Heatherman has seen all this. He knows what it looked like, and he knows it wasn't good. And you could sense his intensity, his frustration. You could sense his understanding. Like, unlike Shannon Dawson's up there laughing and smiling, Corey Heatherman
wasn't laughing.
Corey Heatherman wanted to kill somebody up there, which is why I said I had a murder vest on. He was pissed. Like, you could tell from looking at him he wasn't happy. You couldn't tell from Shannon Dawson he wasn't happy. You just couldn't. I mean, Gary, you thought he was unhappy, Shannon Dawson? I could tell Corey Heatherman wasn't happy.
Everybody's personalities are different, okay? Like, I assure you, Shannon Dawson is not the least bit happy about what went on at Hard Rock Stadium Friday night. I feel pretty
here's the thing. Here's my thing. When somebody's emotions meet what you would expect, I think they're telling the truth. when somebody's emotions are a disconnect from what they should be looking like when they're speaking, it doesn't ring true to me. Like, that's the problem I had with Shannon Dawson's interview yesterday. Corey Heatherman, his demeanor, the way he spoke, it all met what should have been the case. And when he said those things, I believed them. And I do think he's going to make the appropriate changes. And I do think he understands these are massive problems on his defense. And it sure seemed that he was real upset about it and worried. And Shannon Dawson was more like, we have a system nobody can stop. We just had a bad day. It's going to be okay. That's what I sense. I don't know why you didn't see that. It seemed clear as day to me. That's what it was.
I think he's in a little bit of a tough spot because he's got a quarterback that he has to manage who's playing, has thrown 7 interceptions now in the first half of the season. That's way too many. Okay. This is a quarterback that had problems with interceptions last year. And we saw how careless Beck was with the ball the other day, and it really derailed them big time. Okay. This is a quarterback that they are paying Miami's NIL collective is essentially paying Carson Beck $75,000 a quarter to be the quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes this year. Okay. He's not going anywhere. Okay. They've committed literally $300,000 a game plus to Carson Beck. Okay. And he threw a really bad game. Now, you don't have this type of margin for error. Like, okay, he threw a bad game. That could be a season-altering moment there. I mean, look at how much it changed the perception of the Miami Hurricanes and the way Miami is being talked about around the country now. In a span of 3 bad hours, everything flipped to the total opposite side. And now Miami's being clowned all over the place because the quarterback threw the ball away so much. And so, like, you just don't have this type of margin for error in college football right now. And Miami just took their mulligan. Okay. And so Shannon Dawson needs Carson Beck to play much better. Okay. But he can't package it in public or in private, really, because the last thing they want is Carson Beck going into a shell. They want to coach him better. They want to scheme up the game plan better. They want to make sure he uses his checkdowns if teams keep taking away the middle of the field, which they're going to do. I mean, they're gambling. Like, we're going to take away the middle of the field. We're going to make Carson Beck beat us, and we're going to gamble that he's going to be the Carson Beck of 2024 that will throw the ball to us. And lo and behold, that's what happened on Friday night. And everybody else is going to see that and try the same thing now. So the good news is now they will have a plan to deal with it because they know they're going to see it. And hopefully Carson Beck knows to take the checkdowns. You got Mark Fletcher, you got Jordan Lyle. You can even throw Pringle out there. You got Elijah Lofton, who, he's got his own introspection to do after. I know he's thrown under the bus, but he did run the wrong route, which is why the ball was tipped in the first place and then why it was intercepted. If he ran the route he was supposed to run, he's running sideways out towards the sideline, and Carson Beck has a passing lane to get the ball to him. The way he ran, Carson Beck was trying to throw it through the outstretched arms of a defensive end, and it got tipped a little bit, and then, like I said, intercepted. So that wasn't just, oh, geez, he ran the wrong route. Like, the wrong route he ran is what caused the play to go up in smoke, what otherwise would have been a good play because it would have given him a catch in stride going towards the sideline, and then he could cut it up the field. And the minute somebody was about to tackle him, he's getting knocked out of bounds and stopping the clock. Okay, so it was the perfect play, and it was there. He just needed to run the right route, and things might have been different. The result of the game could have been different. Maybe they kick a field goal and get into overtime. Maybe they figure out a way. They still have 2 timeouts to get in the end zone. I mean, these are all season shaping moments that we're watching here, and now they have to be managed. So we're not going to over dramatize the Stanford game. I mean, Miami comes out.
Let me just tell you, this is what Miami's up against in this game. Okay, 2 of their last 4 games were against Virginia and San Jose State. Okay, the San Jose State quarterback threw for 473 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Virginia quarterback threw for 380 yards and 4 touchdowns against Stanford. Like, Carson Beck is going to be fine throwing the ball deep. Miami fans are going to be like, oh, it's all in the past. This is one of the worst secondaries you're ever going to see on deep passes, okay? They are terrible.
Well, that's good. That'll get his confidence.
It'll get his confidence up, and then he gets to play a better defense again the next week.
And then they better have a game plan.
Yeah. So everyone's going to be sitting here next week. Like, I'm not going to be sitting here saying how great he is. He's going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I have very little doubt about it. If he throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, it's a failure. Okay. That's tongue in cheek. But you understand, I'm not even counting this. This is like a scrimmage. Like, I know fans think, oh, it might be a close game. They played with FSU. They played FSU real tight, whatever. Like, FSU's passing game sucks, man, okay? Castellanos, he can run the ball, and he got beat up and tossed out of the game, right? He got hurt. This is a team that will give up a lot of yards through the air against Miami. I don't think they can afford to try to stop the run. They need all the help they can get just playing in the back end on defense. I just can't, there's a reason there's a 30-point line. Miami has to score 30 points for a 30-point line, right? Like, everybody knows they're going to score a lot of points on this defense. This defense is terrible. Carson Beck's going to look great this weekend.
Yeah, that's why I'm not over dramatizing the Stanford game. And I
that's
think
when you're asking about Stanford and the defense. Yeah. I'm like, dude, they're just not. They're not good on either side. They haven't won more than 4 games in 8 years.
It's amazing that they beat Florida State, but
that's how. Listen, Florida State. The only reason people even think Florida State's decent is because they beat Alabama. But there's these weird season openers every year where Troy wins a game or App State wins a game. That was FSU against Alabama because FSU clearly is terrible. Yeah. They got lucky in the first game.
All right. Also on the website today, we've got a story with basketball coach Jay Lucas. I know you guys aren't really in basketball mode yet, but it's only like 2 weeks away from the start of the season. So check that out. He talks a lot about the team, who's impressing them in practice. And the one thing that I took away from it is that, when you're putting a team together with 13 new guys that you're pulling from all over the place, that's not easy. And it's not like bringing a team back for a season where you have like 6 or 7 returnees and then you're supplementing that with recruiting. This is every single roster on the team is new. Okay. And
yeah, you didn't think it was weird? Didn't you think it was weird when Mario Cristobal asked him to be the football team's defensive coordinator because he's so good at defense? I think Mario didn't understand. He's talking about he was good at defense in basketball, Mario. I don't understand why he said that. Super.
Yeah, but so he talked a little bit about how he did recruit the team for defensive purposes. But
you know what? And by the way, are Miami fans really prepared for 52-48 wins like those old Virginia teams? Like,
I don't think it's going to be like that. I'm telling you, I in the 2 practices that I attended have been very impressed with what I'm seeing from the athleticism of this team and the way he's put this team together. They're big, they're long. They can shoot. They got a lot of pieces out there. I'm telling you, I'm not going to make any predictions. I mean, who the hell knows? But I was expecting the worst, quite honestly, because you hire a coach. He's a first-time head coach. You put him into an ACC job, and to Miami's credit, they gave Jay Lucas every resource that he needs. And this is a very well-funded program. Right now, I think they might have spent as much as $11-12 million on the roster, and they've got some good players out there, man. And I'm excited for basketball season. I think this is going to be an exciting team, and with a lot of really good games. And
all right, I'm going to say something that's actually interesting. You ready for this? You ready for this, Ferman?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
I'm ready. Yes.
All right. So I'm friends with a lot of the players' parents, obviously, because I'm old, and so are they. So we can relate to each other. But I have heard, and this is really interesting, there's already, everybody transfers, right? Everybody brings in transfers. There's concern among them, even if their kids are staying, that they're not going to know if Miami's bringing in a transfer player to take over for their kid. And they're already stressing out over when do we get to meet with Mario, because the window is like before or during the playoffs, before the playoffs. Is Mario going to even meet with them? Because he's going to be so busy preparing for whatever bowl or whatever playoff game or whatever it is. And now 85 parents, 105 parents with walk-ons, whatever, they have more than 85 on scholarship, or they can. Are they, like, how does he manage all of this? It's a short window. There's only one window. There's no more graduate transfers allowed to transfer after the window. So hypothetically, a player from X school can go in the portal during that portal window and stay in the portal for a month, whatever, and enroll in January and pick Miami and be the new Miami starting cornerback, receiver, quarterback, running back, whatever it's going to be. Pick a position, right? The player who thought they were going to be that next guy up would have probably left if they knew they weren't going to play as a junior.
Right.
But now they're stuck, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
anybody you bring in has to compete. I mean, it's up to
I understand, but parents are freaking out. This is and I heard it yesterday from another parent. He's like, how can we make a decision not knowing any information? Like, the coaches can promise us, yeah, he'll start or whatever. But like, coaches aren't going to promise you. I didn't say this to him, but coaches aren't going to promise him anything, you know? So what do you do? Do you go in the portal and then just like sit around and wait and see if they take somebody? So at least you're in the portal and you can always come back. I don't know. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
When I tell you the players probably aren't worrying about it, they're focused on the season, but the parents are freaking the freak out. And it's not just at Miami, I'm sure it's everywhere, because these players are not going to know what their position is going to look like the following year, because other players are going to come in at their position hypothetically and take their spots, and they won't have recourse. Yeah,
it's very interesting the way they set that up. And we'll be talking a lot more about that. We're not going to break the whole thing down tonight. We have a lot of fact finding to do just to answer some of those questions.
I was just trying to get you to stop talking about basketball. That's the only reason. I wouldn't even have mentioned it otherwise.
I'm just saying that, we have a story about with Jay Lucas.
Fans complaining on the YouTube channel.
Basketball, you guys can read that story, okay? If you don't care about basketball.
Fans complain when we talk about baseball or basketball. I don't know why. I guess it's football season. It makes no sense. Why can't we just talk about baseball the whole time?
Listen, I like basketball too, and I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. And I'm like, I have no, I don't mind saying that I was a little concerned, at the time of the hire, because Jay Lucas has never been a head coach before. This is a tough job, but to the credit of the university, they've given him the resources he needs. Like I said, I think he's put together a very nice team.
They gave him resources they never even gave to Jim Larinaga.
Not even close. No, not even close. He's got more than double that Larinaga ever had.
I know. How does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, what do you think Larinaga?
It's like they were waiting for Larinaga to leave, and then we can't get anyone as good as Larinaga, so now we got to actually pay to be good. Because Larinaga could make a team good with average guys. Now it's like, no, we got to just pay to
well, I mean, imagine what he probably thinks. Like, what the hell? I just retired, and now they come up with all this money. If I knew they were going to put up this kind of money, I want to step down.
That's true.
But anyway, so we've got that on the website today. We've got some recruiting stuff for you. Canes in the NFL today on the website, and we'll also be talking to a bunch of players in midday, and we'll bring that to you this afternoon as well. But that's going to conclude it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport, you've seen the information scrolling across the bottom of your screen, the entire show. Your subscriptions are what allow our entire team to do what we do every single day. We need you to be a CaneSport subscriber. I hope you will. And program note, tonight we've got CaneSport Live, so make sure you come back at 8 o'clock tonight. Should be an interesting show tonight. I'll fasten my seatbelt before the show starts for sure. We may have to keep Matt up a little late tonight. We'll see. He's going to grimace at that idea. I know Matt likes his sleep. Okay, he likes his sleep.
I get up at 5 in the morning.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Stupid show, and then I have to stay on that schedule.
We'll see if we could sneak him a few extra minutes beyond the first hour. We'll see. It's gonna be a lit show tonight. So you guys have that to look forward to. Then tomorrow night we're gonna have the Lamar Thomas show, and we've got a great guest on the Lamar Thomas show this week. Former quarterback Steve Walsh is coming on the show, and he's going to be able to give us a lot of insight into maybe what Carson Beck is going through here and how he bounces back from that performance against Louisville. So make sure you save 8 o'clock Tuesday night and Wednesday night. You're going to want to be a part of those two shows. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll see you next time, everybody.